Many years ago, when I was in college, I've always been known to be fluent in English and also had a reputation for being good in writing. So, when I was in college, probably this was my first attempt at graduation. So, during that time, I got an opportunity to write something. I think maybe it was for the fourth king's birthday, maybe it was I think it was for a radio program. But anyhow, that got that got rejected because I feel it got rejected in a sense not by anybody from the royal press, but more from the person who had given me the opportunity, because I think she couldn't see where the article was coming from, because the first words which I had used at that point in time is what I'm going to be using today, as I wish the great fourth a very happy birthday. Hi, my name is Karma Dendrup, and as those of you who are watching this for the first time for those of you who have been watching me for some time now, know that every Wednesday I make a post called hashtag my take. And we started off almost, I think, 30 weeks ago. And initially it was an alphabetical thing where I said A for addiction, B for Buddha, C for change. And after we reached Z, or Z as we here in Bhutan who use British English pronounce the letter. So after that, I've been going randomly with regard to how it all started off. So today, I thought, as this year is a very special year here in Bhutan, because like I shared in the earlier part of this video, His Majesty the fourth Druk Gyalpo is turning 70. So is Her Majesty the Gyalum Achi Doji Wangmo Wanchu. She is also turning 70, and with that, His Holiness the Jekimpo Tukuji Michoda is also turning 70. And hopefully, I'll be able to make videos for Her Majesty and His Holiness as well. But this video has been bubbling inside me for quite some time now. So I'll just go ahead, because given the 10 minutes duration that I get here on TikTok, I don't want to overshoot it. So the quote that got my article about the fourth king rejected was a Buddhist quote. So the quote, the line or the saying or the proverb is, a Brahmin is not a Brahmin by birth, but a Brahmin is a Brahmin by his actions. And that's how I had started the article, and the person who was responsible for okaying it found it disrespectful. And probably because I was in Delhi, and at that point in time there was no WhatsApp and messengers, so communication was a bit expensive, and the opportunities or the avenues were limited. So that got rejected, and I could never clarify why. But here today with this video, I meant that not out of disrespect, but out of awe and out of appreciation and gratitude is what I had meant to use those lines. And today, amongst the many, many awesome, great things that the Great Fourth has done for Bhutan and the rest of the world, I wanted to highlight two which I find are timeless legacies. One is His Majesty's decision of putting all the prince and princesses, all their royal highnesses in public schools. And I can't fathom or imagine or even pretend to imagine what the thought process behind that must have been from His Majesty to take such a decision. But nowadays, as I see different income levels of schooling here in Bhutan and different opportunities in see Bhutanese parents sending their children abroad, starting from as early as pre-primary, from kindergarten all the way to their high school, to expensive schools. Not that I have anything against expensive schools, but every time I hear of such a choice or a decision that a parent makes, I am mindful and cognizant of the fact that it must be by no means easy to make such a call. I keep thinking about how His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo had all the resources, and in spite of that, he chose to put, including our current king, the fifth Druk Gyalpo. They were all seniors in school, and some of the HRH were juniors in school. So I find that single decision has had an impact in all of our lives because of the network that including our current king, His Majesty the Fifth Druk Gyalpo, as well as all the rest of the royal family members, could, in a sense, empathize and see life from a more local and on the ground level lens of what other fellow Bhutanese and what our lives and what our challenges are. And I don't think I can quantify what the impact of that choice by the Great Fourth to have the royal family members attend public school. I mean, that's one thing which I find was really, really great and awesome of him. Besides that, the other thing which I find, I mean, the list is innumerable, starting from the constitution to our transition to democracy and all of that. But I thought, because this is my take and I get to do what I feel is was and I feel one of the emphasis of making this my take video is trying to think in some sense out of the box, for a lack of a better expression. So the other thing which I find more amazing and one of a great legacy of the fourth Druk Gyalpo, the Great Fourth, is him abdicating at the prime. I mean, in ancient times, it would have been a different story, but now, given medical healthcare and the advancement in modern medicine, His Majesty, the Great Fourth, could still be ruling us right now. But his choice to abdicate, and then very recently, I was listening to a very moving speech, an inspiring speech by the fifth Druk Gyalpo in Gyalpo Mindfulness City. And he spoke about how His Majesty handed over the reins to him when he was just 26. So that, I feel, is a lesson that many of us, like I'm a parent right now, and hopefully I'll be able to emulate what the Great Fourth did in his capacity, and I mean, with his greatness and his wisdom. To some extent, my own parents, I recently lost my father, but they themselves also, uh, given the fact that they didn't have any formal education, they also made a similar choice in their lives, and we are better off for it. Uh, it was not as smooth as what we were able to witness on a national level, but I think sorting out for us people on the ground level, on in whatever income bracket that we find ourselves, if we are able to sort out retirement, inheritance, and all of that while we are still alive, it makes things a lot more simpler for the children that you leave behind. And amongst my own friends and amongst family as well, also, I notice a lot of confusion and bewilderment with regard to, if your parents have been successful and they have an inheritance, then they themselves also, given their old age, find themselves to be confused, and that confusion translates generationally. Uh, Not to point fingers, but the other opposite side is, you look at Thailand and then you look at UK, the United Kingdom, and you see how, when Queen Elizabeth passed away, at what age she handed the golden throne to King Charles. And similarly in Thailand as well, also, when that ancient, I don't know which, I don't have the history and the reference and research behind it, but whatever this idea was of the preceding monarch having to pass away and for the other one to ascend the throne, I don't think that works. And we, at least here in Bhutan, have been lucky, thanks to the Great Fourth, to witness what are the possibilities and what a beautiful transition we found ourselves in when His Majesty the Fourth Druk Gyalpo handed the golden throne and a raven crown to our current king. So, thus, without overshooting my time, that's what I wanted to share. So, You can find all of my videos here on TikTok in the gallery, and besides that,